You got to be a little bit crazy to be in this type of business because you have to be more into making a difference with people than just making money. You have to have a purpose bigger than making money. You have to stand
True.
for something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm. True.
There's a lot of people out there that call them leadership coaches or business coaches. And they'll make a lot of promises like we'll help you grow your business and get more profits and get more customers, 30 more clients this month or whatever it is, 10,000 a month or 20 or 30. But the thing that most people are missing is a methodology. They don't have a methodology for helping the company, helping. So I think probably the most important skill in coaching is not what you say, it's what you say when you listen. You know, if I talk to my son who's 17 and I start giving him advice, he'll say, okay, Dad, don't talk to me about that for another half an hour. But if I listen to him, all of a sudden, it's amazing what people will allow you to say to them or about them when you really listen to them. Because when you listen to people, it shows you respect them. And when you listen to people, then they start to reveal things. You know what I'm saying? They start to reveal their goals, their aspirations, their problems, their mental models. And now you can then say something to people that will move them, that will transform them.
All right, welcome to the Winner Circle podcast with Jay, where we dive deep into transformative insights and game changing strategies, especially in business and in leadership. And as you already know, I'm your host, Jay. Today we'll be exploring a powerful topic that can revolutionize leadership and personal development. So, we're going to be talking about the essence of masterful coaching. So, to help us today to uncover the true meaning of coaching excellence, we have a distinguished guest joining us, Robert Hargrove. So, let me just give you a brief intro about Robert so you can know what we're having on the show today. You know, he's a great person with a great profile. You know, he's an internationally recognized executive coach, a leadership expert, and the author of several influential books, including The Masterful Coaching and Your First 100 Days in a New Executive Job. As a former director of the Harvard Leadership Research Project, Robert has worked with the Fortune 500 CEOs, you know, government leaders, entrepreneurs, and helping them unlock their full potential. So, in this episode, we're going to explore what masterful coaching really means. And not just only explore it, we have to see how it differs from traditional coaching methods and how leaders can adopt a coaching mindset to drive success. So, for you watching on YouTube, LinkedIn platform, and every other platform you're watching right now, we just want to say welcome to the Winner Circle. And I want you to welcome Robert Hargrove to the show.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Robert.
Hi, great intro.
You're welcome. So, I was gonna say, you know, to start the show today, I just want you to set the ground. You know, I've done the main intro for about the information I know about your great works. So, I would just want to understand something. What exactly inspired your journey into executive coaching and leadership development?
Well, that really started a long, long time ago. I'm from the Boston area, Massachusetts, USA, which was the home of John F. Kennedy. And when I was pretty young, I heard his inauguration speech where he said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And he also then added, it's called the Ask Not speech, the torch is being passed to a new generation of Americans born of freedom and dedicated to the proposition in our great Constitution and Declaration of Independence. And when he said that, I felt he was speaking to me. The torch has been passed. I was only probably 12 years old or less, but I felt he was speaking to me. And he then talked about the fact that on this earth, God's work must truly be our own. At the time, my father would come home. He was a salesman. He would come home late from work. And my mother would say, where are you? Where have you been? And he would say, I'm trying to make a living. In fact, he wouldn't say it like that. He'd say it politically incorrect. Woman, I'm trying to make a living. I heard that many times. And when I heard that JFK speech, I said, I want to make a difference. I don't want to just make a living. I want to make a difference. Probably there are different times in my career where I wish I had just focused on making a living versus trying to make a difference, which doesn't always pay. But that's where I got my inspiration. There's another part which I can talk to you about is how I got the idea to get into coaching. Okay, so before running Masterful Coaching, which was almost 30 years ago, I was already a little of a superstar in my own, at least in my own mind. I had done personal transformation seminars with over 30,000 people. I started in an office in my house with nothing but a phone, a telephone book, and a desk. And I enrolled 100 people in a seminar, and I was so scared to talk in front of a group of people that during the break I'd have to go back and breathe because I was like frozen. But it turned out I was pretty good at it. And then I went from doing these. I conducted many as part of this leadership weekends, and CEOs and let's call them young rising stars like yourself would attend some of these, and there would be many of them said it was a transformative experience.
Hmm.
Which I didn't invent it myself, but I was part of something called the Human Potential Movement back in the 90s or even earlier. And I learned from other people that were really good at it, Indian gurus and Western gurus and all kinds of interesting people. But then I realized that if I wanted to do something to make a difference in the world, and Leo Tolstoy said, everyone talks about changing the world, but nobody talks about changing himself. I said, I'm going to change myself. I said, I can't just, if I want to change the world, I just can't do a 3-day leadership weekend. I've got to stick with the people to help them actually get a result that would change the world. Instead of just having the people clap for a great program, and I was younger and more handsome. Women were coming up to me. It was really great. But one day I walked into a bookstore, it was a Barnes and Noble bookstore, and there was a book there called Coaching for Improved Performance. And I'm naturally a disruptor. And I saw that book and I said, that didn't sit right for me. I said, coaching is not about improving performance. I live in Boston. I've been a Boston Celtics fan all my life, and the Celtics had won like 15 world championships. And I was a great fan of the coach Red Auerbach. And I said, no, coaching isn't just about improved performance. Coaching is about realizing an impossible dream, an impossible future. Coaching is about personal transformation. So I decided to write a book on coaching that was about that, and that's what I call the true masterful coaching. Is coaching is about helping individuals, teams, organizations realize an impossible future, helping people be more, achieve more, and have more than they ever thought is possible. So I sat down and wrote this book, Masterful Coaching. It took me like 2 years. There was a famous film director by the name of, what was his name? Ingmar Bergman. He said the best film from a movie is often left on the cutting room floor. So I worked in this for 2 years. I had tons of paper all over the office. In fact, my secretary told me, he said, you're using all the paper. You're using all the printer. We don't even have enough money to buy the paper. But finally, I was able to produce it. And then I started getting calls from CEOs and different people that wanted me to do executive coaching. One of them was a company said, well, how much would you charge for executive coaching? I said, I have no idea. It was a big consulting company. And they said, well, we charge $100,000. I said, yeah, well, that's just what I was thinking. So in the first week after writing the book, I got a $100,000 contract and some others followed. Now, you asked a good question about what is the real masterful coaching. See, I think the real masterful coaching is about helping people, these three things: achieving an impossible future, personal and organizational transformation, and helping individuals be more, achieve more, and have more than they ever thought possible. If you look at coaching, there's a lot of coaches around today, but they don't deliver on any of that stuff. It's more like a session with your psychiatrist. All right, so that's
Exactly.
a wide open discussion.
So one thing I went through your book. One thing I saw about the masterful coaching, and also if you look at the history of the book itself, it has a lot of profound impact on leadership coaching. So if I'm just gonna, just throw it on the table. So how would you define masterful coaching? How do you think it stand apart from the conventional coaching methods that we have right there in these days right now?
Well, I think I can make it very simple. Coaching takes place in the domain of accomplishment. meaning it's about achieving something that you want to achieve. Most of the coaching that is out there today is, I would put under, or let's say not most, but a lot, I would put under the title of therapy. And coaching for accomplishment is different than coaching for making people feel better. The purpose of it is not therapy. The purpose is accomplishing something. Why do you go to a coach? You go to a coach to accomplish something that right now is impossible, difficult, or even unthinkable. I like to play golf. I like to ski, but I still can't hit a golf ball straight. I can hit one or two, and then the other one goes in the woods. So for me, hitting a golf ball straight, that's difficult, impossible, or even unthinkable. Most coaching isn't about that. Accomplishing something very specific that's important to you. It's about, I don't know, insights, realizations, miracles, but it's not taking place in the domain of the accomplishment. Probably the main idea that's basic in my book is Masterful Coaching is about a science for reaching impossible goals. It's not, it takes the guesswork out of it. We have a process that does that.
Hello, listeners. I want to take a quick moment to share an incredible opportunity for anyone looking to take their businesses to the next level. So, if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed by the challenges of running a business, most businesses need help right now to navigate out of all this mess, all this hula baloo. So, I'm going to recommend you to check out Point of View Consulting. They are based in New York City and they specialize in offering expert guidance tailored specifically to your needs. One of the things I like about them is their team. They have a lot of team members and they're dedicated to helping businesses of all sizes, whether you're small, whether you're medium, whether you're large. They will help you identify your strength and weakness. They will also develop effective strategies. For my listeners, or for the listeners of the Winner Circle podcast, you can get 30% off your first consultation by using the code Winner Circle Podcast when you sign up. So whether you're a startup or you're an established company, Point of View Consulting, they offer personalized services that can help you align your objective with practical solutions. So if you're ready to unlock your business potential, you need to visit www.pointofviewconsultingimc.com and use the code Winner Circle Podcast for your special discount. So don't miss out on this chance to work with the industry expert who can provide the support you need to thrive. So I'm just going to say it again. Go to www.pointofviewconsultingimc.com. When you get there, use the code Winner Circle Podcast. When you contact them, tell them Jay from Winner Circle Podcast sent you, and use the code Winner Circle Podcast for 30% off your first consultation. So take this step towards a success today. All right, see you next time.
Yes, science, because this is quite different. A lot of people, their view about coaching is simply offering advice or guidance and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, and one thing I saw about the masterful coaching myself, it brought out the masterful level of coaching. So if I'm going to ask, what do you think are the key elements that elevate coaching to that masterful level?
Well, the masterful level is, I think actually the masterful level is actually where I start my coaching. And I'm not, I said I work with CEOs and entrepreneurs and teams, but I'm really happy. I want to make a difference in other people's lives. I don't really care who I work with. But whenever I meet someone, it could be an Uber driver or a waitress in a restaurant or some Guatemalan or Salvadorian guy who I bring out to my property to work on my grass. I've always tried to, my come from is, I think what makes me pretty good at it, what I do, is I'm good at spotting people's potential. I can spot people with high potential. And then my conversation always starts with sometimes I feel I see potential in other people that they don't see themselves. Or I'm more excited about people and they don't see themselves. For example, you, for example. And
Thank you.
so I always try to ask them, I try to elevate their aspirations and motivations, because to coach, there has to be a gap between the person's goal or aspiration and where they are now. So there's no opening for me to coach most people where they are now, because most people don't have a goal. They don't have an aspiration. So I always say, well, what's your dream? I would say this. It's the same question I ask the bus drivers. I would say, what's your dream? What's your goal? What's your aspiration? And the answer most people have is they don't know. They don't know. They don't know what that question stumps them. And I said, well, look, you have so much potential. Don't you have a dream? What's your current situation? And they say, well, I want to have enough money for the year or for the week or go on vacation. So I'm always trying to challenge people to have a big dream and to play a bigger game. Like, look at you, for example, Jay. I don't know what your origin was, but today you're leading a podcast that's going on YouTube or Facebook, TikTok, maybe LinkedIn. I mean, and you're
Yeah, Apple
inspiring a lot of
Podcasts.
people
Yeah,
to
quite a lot.
become the leaders their business needs, or not only their business, but to become the kind of leader that the world needs. So that's where I always start from. And another question I ask people is, I'm not telling you I'm telling you about really what I do is, if someone tells me I see someone has a big potential, but they don't have a big aspiration or goal. I say, did anyone ever push you? Did your mother and father push you to be all that you are and all that you can be? And actually, most people answer that question is no. Some people say I pushed myself, but sometimes you need, the Chinese they call it a tiger mother or a tiger father that pushes you. So if you go back and you look at someone like Nelson Mandela, he probably had someone in his background that was a coach or mentor that pushed him. You don't get to be like that just on your own. Oh, and another thing very important is, in my work, in terms of the Masterful Coaching, is people who are coachable. I notice in working with CEOs and entrepreneurs that the best ones who are most successful are often the most coachable. Other people say, well, I don't need a coach. I got this, So I think I'm a humanitarian too. I like to help people be better off in
That's
all
great.
countries and all continents.
That's
I don't know if I've
super
asked
great.
your question up, but the Masterful Coaching is about helping people do something. There's a science, a methodology for helping people do something that is presently difficult, impossible, or even unthinkable. And you're right, most coaches, you're making this distinction, they're just having conversations. And there's a group
Yes.
called the International Coaches Federation, a group that I don't put a lot of stock in, because they've appointed themselves the certifiers of coaches, and they have a very strict set of bureaucratic rules. Like, a coach can only ask questions and listen. That's all you can ask, because they equate coaching like psychiatry. That's what I said. Coaching takes place in the domain of accomplishment, not psychiatry. So if you're just asking questions and listening, you're not adding a lot of value. You're helping people gain insight by talking things out for themselves. They could also talk to a mirror instead of talking to you.
There's these
So
three unique things that
now, do
that
you
that,
want to
that,
become
that
a masterful coach?
yes, of course.
All right,
So,
good.
well, I have the master coach here, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, you
navigate through
can
it.
be. You can be. You got to be more. You got to be a little bit crazy to be in this type of business, because you have to be more into making a difference with people than just making money. You have to have a purpose bigger than making money. You have to stand
True.
for something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm. True.
Who would
So
you
I
like
was
to help as a coach? What kind of people would you like to help?
business owners,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, aspiring, because I love the business space. I love the leadership entrepreneurship space. This is a space I've been in for quite a number of years, over 20 years right now. So it's something I
Oh,
love to be in.
well, I could teach you how to do that. We're developing a process. That's another thing. There's a lot of people out there that call them leadership coaches or business coaches. And they'll make a lot of promises like, we'll help you grow your business and get more profits and get more customers, 30 more clients this month or whatever it is, 10,000 a month or 20 or 30. But the thing that most people are missing is a methodology. They don't have a methodology for helping the people realize those goals. And I've developed over the years a methodology for taking a CEO. I like to work with visionary entrepreneurs. which means they're not just someone that's running like a delicatessen or a donut shop or a hardware store and doing the same thing they've been doing for 20 years. I like to work with visionary entrepreneurs of small to medium-sized
Scalable businesses.
enterprise and help them grow their business faster and bigger than they ever thought possible. And I've developed a science-backed methodology to do that, which is actually very teachable. It's very learnable. And I'm going to be training other coaches who want to be able to do that. I think that in the last 10 years or so, coaching has exploded. But I think many of the people who are now kitchen table coaches, it's not going to hold up. I think there's going to be a brand shakeout. There's going to be about 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 brands, coaching brands. I hope my company, Masterful Coaching, is one of them. And I want to inspire you to join me with being my Masterful Coaching. And I want to have 100 coaches that are going around coaching CEOs and entrepreneurs who I call them small giants. They're more interested in being great than they are just in being big. Does this sound like a good idea?
That's great. That's great. So I was also going to add to a question also in regards to leaders, because you talked about CEOs that they don't want to be coached and all that. So, but now I want to ask this from your experience. How can leaders, because I know a lot of people watching right now, most of them are business owners, leaders, how can they adopt a coaching mindset? They're not coaches themselves, but having the mindset of coaches or coaching mindset to foster growth and innovation within their own organization?
Well, that's a very good question. By the way, I see you as a man on a mission. You're really
Thank you.
pushing yourself to be all that you are and all that you can be. And
Thank
probably
you.
having a coach would be, or a mentor would be a good thing. Sometimes you need help. You need someone to be the wind at your back, not to believe in you.
True.
But to get back to your question, let's look at the traditional view of being a boss. And I guess you're the boss of that podcast. And I was very impressed to hear that you had 4 people working with you on the podcast.
Yes.
And it was going on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. I would like to help you, if I could, grow that podcast 10x. They say 10x is easy. I'd like to see that podcast be 10 times bigger. I'd like to see you be one of the most successful podcasters in the country and be on the same stage as people like Joe Rogan or whoever.
Yeah, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I
Great.
mean,
He's a great
why
person.
not? Because when I'm talking to you, I'm getting inspired. See, I get inspired by people, and I just want to help them. I regret whether they're paying me or not. But to get back to your question, the traditional view of being a boss was 3 things. The top dog. When I say CEO, by the way, that to me is the same thing. CEO, president, entrepreneur, founder, that all mean the same thing. So, but traditionally, the owner or president was the top dog, the boss. Okay, they're the top dog, the ace of accountability. They're accountable for everything, which is true, and ultimate decision maker. And they created a very hierarchical relationship with the people that work for them. They're the boss, and the other is the subordinate. I hate the term subordinate, but that's the word that's been used. And I would much rather have a collaborative relationship with the people that I work with. When I got into coaching, I wrote another book called the Masterful Coaching Field Book, which is pretty good. I don't know if it's great. I haven't looked at it in a long time. But I see the role of the boss not just being the top dog, ace of accountability, and ultimate decision maker, someone whose job it is to surround themselves with amazing people and develop those people even more, teach them how to play as a team, and hopefully keep them around for a while. But if the people grow out of that job, give them your best wishes to go someplace else where they can play a bigger game. So, but let me say it to you another shorter, simpler way. I see the job of the leader as coach as someone who is excited about helping other people on their team be more, achieve more, and have more than they ever thought possible, versus just someone who's the boss who likes to tell people what to do. So imagine, if you look at the CEOs of big companies, they get excited about things like we're doing a $1 billion merger. Okay, or we just got this new client over there. They're interested in the pizza that we make around here, or the cars that we sell. Someone with a coaching personality they're just as excited about helping someone realize their potential as the other guy is interested in doing a merger or growing their business tax or getting a new customer. I mean, I get excited by developing people. That's my pleasure. Would I like to make 10x my business? Sure, but I think the better way to think of it is how can I help the people on my team grow, develop. So to try to get around to you, so one, if I'm talking to the people who are listening to the podcast, shift your mindset from being the top dog, ace of accountability, ultimate decision maker, to being a coach, a mentor, and teacher who helps the people in your team be more, achieve more, and have more than they ever thought possible.
That's great. Because I know that leadership in the world we are right now, it's more about being the top dog. Most leaders or most business owners, they really don't care about the staff. Just do what you're told to do. They don't really care. I would rather say maybe due to capitalism, it's all about the numbers. It's not about coaching the people working for them.
I
So do
found,
you
to be
think
honest
is
with
the
you,
right
I
thing?
said I've coached people from companies like Apple, Google, Nike, Fidelity Investments, top people. And I'm not speaking specifically of them, but I found that a lot of these people, they dress well, they're beautiful, they're handsome, they have a lot of charisma, they have great educational opportunities. They went to Harvard or Stanford or Wharton or someplace. But sometimes they're not that nice people. If you scratch away the surface of that, they call it bonhomie, but good fellow, well met. If you scratch away that surface charm and charisma, you've got someone whose basic orientation in life is power and money, and will sacrifice any relationship they have to get it, even their own wife or their mother or their kid. I'm not saying that's everyone, but I've met a lot of people, I would say, whose act I bought. I bought their act. I thought they were like great people, but I found out they were not so great. And so, so have you found out? Have you experienced that at all?
Yeah, yeah. So my experience, especially in the coaching world, is I've seen um business owners who are more direct to their staff and encourage them and all that. And I've seen some that the staff is focused more, to them is just the numbers. They want to make the numbers. So they really don't care about the well being or whatever. It's just fill the gap and get me money. So there are some
Yeah,
people,
you're right. But
yes,
see, and that's what separates a great leader from a mediocre leader. A great leader, they sincerely, what motivates a great leader is someone who stands for a possibility that's bigger than themselves. And the money is the result of doing that. One guy I like is Jensen Wang of NVIDIA. I don't know if you've seen him. Check him out on
yeah,
YouTube.
yes, yeah. He's a great
But
person.
I
Yeah.
could really see you as becoming a business coach, CEO coach,
Thank you.
visionary entrepreneur coach.
So I was also going to say something, right? We know that most coaches help executives and entrepreneurs to achieve success. So, but I figure that a lot of people they help you achieve, coaches help you achieve success. But is there anything like coaches that help you sustain it over time?
That's the essence of coaching. That's why I started coaching. As I told you, I was doing these leadership weekends, and we surveyed the people, and something like 70% of the people said that it was a transformative experience. But then the weekend would be over. And I remember a CEO of Adidas coming up to me like a week after the seminar was over. He said, Robert, I've been sucked back into the monster. I had something great with you, but I was sucked back into the monster. So, meaning that he got into the same issues with his team and his company, and there's always a problem. Well, so I started coaching because I thought you need something else besides a quick hit. You need to sustain a relationship. So, the Masterful Coaching approach is we generally work with the CEO and team over the course of a year. So, we're staying in contact with people. And let me just tell you the basic format is that we start out, we coach the CEO and the team. We coach the CEO maybe once every 2 weeks, and the team comes together once a quarter for a masterful coaching session. And it's all about realizing an impossible future and rapid transformation. So we meet maybe 12 times in the course of the year with the CEO or founder, and 3 times with the whole team. And the proposition is growing your business faster and bigger than you ever thought was possible, and creating a plan to get to that, overcoming the obstacles involved. So, but the question you asked about sustaining is very important. But before you get to that, let me say something else about a lot of people say they're good coaches. If I look on YouTube, there's almost no ads about how to be a better coach, how to be a masterful coach. All the ads are about how I can help you make money being a coach. There aren't a lot of the people who say they're masterful coaches are not masterful coaches. Now, have you ever been to McDonald's?
Of
You
course.
said you go there every day.
No, no, not every day. Like the last time I'd been in McDonald's, maybe some years ago.
All right, well, that's McDonald's, Burger King, Chipotle. You go in there and you look at the menu and you see the beautiful Big Mac hamburger. Even though you know that's not that healthy, it looks good and you order it off the menu. Then you get the meal. Well, what happens is the meal, now you look at the meal looks different and tastes different than what's on the menu. So a lot of people are giving you a nice menu of being a masterful coach, but they're not a masterful coach. You're getting, at the end of the day, a $1 hamburger, probably with some of it isn't all real. Where's the beef? Where's the beef? I mean, I could see a fellow like you coaching visionary entrepreneurs and really giving them both the meal and the menu. I guess you're already a consultant or a coach of some kind. I think you told me that.
Yes.
But do you have a methodology to help people reach impossible goals and deliver rapid transformation? If not, we should talk about it.
Definitely. I have some kind of methodology. I'm gonna, reach out to the master to get more of masterful coaching. So, but I figured out that many leaders feel they don't need coaching. That's one
that's
thing
a
I
very
figured
good
out.
point.
So what would you say to those who are skeptical about its value?
Well, that's what I said earlier, that I noticed over the years, it didn't matter what their position was, CEO, founder, team member, that seems like the people who are most successful are the most coachable. And the ones who aren't as successful say, I got this. I don't need a coach. What do I need a coach? I've been in business 20 years. What do I need a coach? This morning, I've come from Boston, and you're kind of a New Yorker, but we have over here our Boston Celtics. And we got a fella on there by the name of Jason Tatum. You know Jason Tatum?
Yeah, Jason. Yeah.
And his one of the assistant coaches on his team, I can't remember his name now, Zinni. I saw YouTube this morning. He said, the thing I love about Jason Tatum is not that he can score 28 points in a game and get 10 rebounds and 5 passes. He said, I love him because he's so coachable. Isn't that's it? That's the secret. And a coach not only teaches you, but holds you accountable for doing what you say you're going to do. That's a real. So when you tell me some people aren't interested in coaching, that's kind of like who they are. They're more interested in status. Like, I'm the founder of this company and I drive a BMW or whatever, than they are in growing themselves or their business. They like the status. So coachability. You know what? You shouldn't waste your time with people that aren't coachable. If you get let's say you go out there, Jay, and you get someone, you can sign them up for coaching or consulting, and then you discover that they're not really that coachable. Well, the best thing to do in that situation is bail, because you're just going to be miserable. You're going to be trying to sell them the coaching program that you already sold them. So if people aren't coachable, that means they're not the right people for you. But the beautiful thing is that the best people, LeBron James and Michael Jordan and who's that famous soccer star? They're the ones that turn out to be the most coachable. The ones you think wouldn't be coachable are the most coachable.
Is it Ronaldo?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ronaldo. Now, are you a soccer player, or what do you do?
No,
Baseball?
I watch sport, football, basketball, soccer. I follow everything.
You look like you're a good
NFC. I watch everything.
Let me ask you a question. Who is the biggest influence in your life so far? Who influenced you the most?
That's quite a big question. I would say a mixture of everything. There's the religious aspect. There's the business aspect.
Okay.
So when it comes to business, it's taking away political word. I just don't want to talk about politics, but taking away, I don't like politics. Taking away the politics out of it, I think I like the revolutionary way of Elon Musk. He does something different. I don't know. Some people might not like him, some people don't like him, but I just like the concept of how he runs business. He thinks out of the box.
He's a good example.
Yeah.
He always goes for something impossible.
Yes,
and then he's not afraid to disrupt something.
Definitely, that's something I like about him. So I love his concept. I love the way, I don't.
He's always looked for a breakthrough idea that will disrupt the status quo.
Yes, just like Tesla, look at SpaceX, look at even Twitter, bringing in the verification button where a lot of people used to. Quite a
That's
number of
my
companies.
idea of an impossible future. He's all about that. Steve Jobs changed the world with his personal computer.
Yeah,
He
nobody
disrupted the
knows
computer business.
yeah, a lot of people don't even know the CEO of Apple. They only still know Steve Jobs. Every time they think Steve Jobs is still, still immortalized, they still feel he's still the CEO, even though we have a new CEO for many years right now. So a lot of people think about Steve Jobs when you think about Apple, even after many years that he's dead. So that's the kind of you know
Yeah,
thing, I
I
think,
saw a YouTube
revolutionary.
video the
Yeah.
other day where Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, went into a restaurant with someone else who was a celebrity. Let's say it was Tom Brady, for example. Nobody even recognized Tim Cook. They're all surrounding Tom Brady. They didn't even they didn't know who Tim Cook was. That's a good point, because what is an impossible future that Tim Cook has taken on? Where did he bring about rapid transformation? Maybe he did something. I don't want to take anything away from him, but if you were going to buy stock when Steve Jobs was president of Apple, you'd make money. I don't know how much money you're going to make now. Warren Buffett dumped a lot of shares in Apple. So now, do you do personal investing as well?
Yes, yes, I do that. I do that. I got quite, it's one of the goals, especially when you're an entrepreneur. So I'm also going to ask a question right now. So for individuals, right, that are interested in becoming masterful coaches themselves, what are the foundational skills they should develop?
Well, there's a difference between what you're coaching and if you're doing business coaching versus leadership coaching, or let's say personal coaching. I think number one, if you want to make coaching your profession, business is the place to do it. I've noticed over the years, if someone tells me they want some personal coaching, they love the idea of it, but when you have to pay for it, they don't want to reach into their pocket and pull out some money. So if we look at that as a basis, your podcast is reaching visionary entrepreneurs. Let me just say a few things. I don't know if I'll have them all correct. But I think one thing I told you that I do, the foundational skill, is to be more excited about other people than they are about themselves. A foundational skill is to get people to dare to dream, to reimagine their life, to disrupt the status quo. But I think my core skill in coaching, foundational skill, is perception. In other words, the whole time I'm talking to you, you don't realize it, I'm observing you. My ability to coach people is I'm a people watcher. I think being a great people watcher is probably one of the most important skills, because I observe you, I see your strengths. And one of the ways people reveal themselves, one of the ways you observe people is by listening to them. Because when people talk, they reveal their goals, their problems, their paradigms, the things they do to get in their own way. Are you a people watcher?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
I
Yes. I
used to
like.
go in the London Tube. I used to have like an office in London. And I would sit on the subway and just look at people. It's amazing. I'm not telling you something you would see in a book somewhere, but it's amazing what you can learn about people just by asking them a few questions. Where were you born? Who was the greatest influence in your life so far? What are you passionate about? What kind of job do you do? Where are you stuck? What are you doing to get in your own way? So I think let me just go hit this again. So I think probably the most important skill in coaching is not what you say, it's what you say when you listen. If I talk to my son who's 17 and I start giving him advice, he'll say, "Okay, Dad, don't talk to me about that for another half an hour." But if I listen to him, all of a sudden, it's amazing what people will allow you to say to them or about them when you really listen to them. Because when you listen to people, it shows you respect them. And when you listen to people, then they start to reveal things. You know what I'm saying? They start to reveal their goals, their aspirations, their problems, their mental models. And now you can then say something to people that will move them, that will transform them. Being a committed listener and being a committed speaker. Now, the other side of what you say when you listen, that's a key part. But then also coaching is about saying what no one else will say. Understand what I'm saying? So coaching is about
Yeah.
what you say when you listen, but it's also about seeing what no one else sees. Well, you can only see what no one else sees if you're really paying attention to that person, watching them. So coaching is about what you say when you listen, which draws them out. Seeing, that's skill 2, seeing what no one else sees. And third is saying what no one else says, being honest in a way that's constructive, in a way they don't feel threatened by what you say. Those are sort of 3 foundational skills. Listening as if they're the most important person in the world. 2, seeing what no one else says, saying what no one else will say. Do you have someone
That's
how
great.
do you do with those skills?
Hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
And then from there is raising aspirations and motivations. Many times I tried to work with these CEOs and founders and elevate their aspirations above making money, above just making money. Making money is important. Sometimes I was successful, sometimes I wasn't in the winner's circle. I've been in the winner's circle a lot of times. I've also been in the loser's circle because I can only coach someone when the person is coachable, for example.
So coaching somebody who's coachable is very important.
That's very important. You know what's another thing that I think I'm transmit to you today is if you want to be a coach, the first step is coaching people that you admire, coaching people that you respect, coaching people you look up to. And obviously, you want to coach people that can afford to hire you as a coach. I think visionary entrepreneurs of small to medium-sized enterprises, let's say you have someone who has anywhere from a $1 million business to a $1 billion business. Usually, if you have an entrepreneur who's bringing in $5 million a year, they can afford to pay you they can afford to pay at least $1,500 a month to hire you as a coach. So there's a big market. I think one thing I'm excited about is coaching small to medium-sized enterprise companies that not only want to be big but great. Is 95% of the CEO entrepreneur of the visionary entrepreneur market, nobody has a coach. Only a very small percentage of entrepreneurs have a coach. Interestingly enough, they don't have a business. Not only do most entrepreneurs not have a coach, they don't have an MBA, which isn't the most important. They don't have any training in business. They never worked for a big company. So all they've got is their ideas and their drive, nothing else. And then what happens with many entrepreneurs is you reach a point, they start their business and it goes and it grows. Then, and I might be talking to your audience, then you reach a point where the entrepreneur and his business, they get stuck and they don't know how to get unstuck. So coaching is about helping people get their business going and growing again.
That's great. So this has been a time fast spent. We're almost getting to 1 hour right now. It's been a very long show, and I've learned a whole lot, on this show. And I have like 2 more rounds of questions. I would, we're having the discussion quite all right, but I just want to ask questions right now, just 2 of them,
You
which is
mentioned
very
something about
important.
2 more rounds of questions.
Yes, I just want, 2 questions.
You can ask me whatever you want, but
Yes.
I want to be able to help you and help the people listening.
Correct. So a lot of people, when it comes to coaching, they always mix up the word coaching. There's the word with coaching, therapy, or a therapist, and the third one would be a mentor. So what's the difference between coaching, therapist, and a mentor? Because most times they always mix it up. So what should a coach do? What should a mentor do? Being a mentor, and what should the therapist do? In real sense.
Well, that's a good question. A coach is helping you to, as I said, be more, achieve more, and have more than you ever thought possible. Coaching takes place in the domain of accomplishment. A mentor is someone that recognizes potential in you and builds a long-term relationship. They're there. I think a good way to describe a mentor is a person that's maybe older and wiser or more experienced in a given field who takes a parental interest in you. So remember I said earlier in this conversation, I said I'd like to help you grow your podcast 10x.
Exactly.
X is easier than 2x. But as I'm talking to you, I'm not just talking to you from the head. As I said, I'm watching you the whole time. I'm also playing the role of the mentor, or I'm starting to feel from the heart, not the head. I'm starting to take a parental interest in you. I think you probably worked very hard to get where you are today, and you deserve to go even further.
Thank you.
And sometimes you need someone that can help you to have the right goals and stay on the right road and keep you from self-sabotaging,
Very important.
Last week my son told me he was going to spend the whole day reading this book he's supposed to read to do a report for English. And he spent the whole day Oh, no. He was supposed to practice his violin. Just give me an example, Ben. He was supposed to practice his violin because he's in the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra. And he wants to impress the conductor of the orchestra, Rodrigo, so he gets a good recommendation for college. But he spent the whole day looking at his phone. He had to relax. He's a very intense student, but he needed to relax. And he forgot to practice his violin. And he went to the thing, and he said, I was exposed. The teacher saw that I hadn't practiced this piece and I couldn't play it right. So when you take a parental interest, you see someone messing up and you have to say something. I tell my son, you can be anything you want. You can be president of the United States, CEO, entrepreneur, doctor. So that's part of being a mentor, believing in someone, seeing their possibilities. Another one is helping them set the right goals. What do you really want to do? Making sure they're on the right road. They're doing the things that will help them get to those goals. And 3, being willing to be honest when they're screwing up. Like I really regretted that I didn't tell my son to practice his violin that day because the person that they want to impress saw that he hadn't practiced. He said I was exposed. I looked at that as much my responsibility as his. So that's the coach is helping you to accomplish what you really want to accomplish. The mentor is someone who takes a parental interest in you finding your greatness and being as successful as you can be, growing and learning, and being a good person.
That's great.
The psychologist or the therapist, I think that there is an important role there to play, and it's to help you clear your head. We get things twisted around in our head. Let's say for example, you write someone a letter to be on your podcast, and they don't write you back, or they don't show up. You do something with that in your head. I think what a therapist does is help people take places where their head is working overtime and help them clear so that they see a clear sky and a clear road.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to take that to hand because I know most times these 3 different group of people are always like intertwined. Some people can actually request they want you to be the coach, but they also want you to be a therapist, or they want you to be a therapist, but they also want you to be a mentor. So thank you for clarifying that. So how do you see the coaching industry evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, first I wanted to say something to you because remember, I'm working double time here. I think that I heard on a podcast the other day from a successful person, Joe Tsai. Joe Tsai is the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. He's the co-chairman of Alibaba. And this is something I want to tell my son today, but I'm going to tell you too. He said, the way you become successful, one way you become successful is you become very good at one thing. Is to find one thing where you're in the top 10% of everyone in the world. Whatever that is, being a dentist, being a doctor, being an entrepreneur, and be very good at that. So everybody should find that one thing, that they love, that they like, where they could be in the top 10% of everyone in the world, whether it's podcasting or coaching or consulting, whatever it is. I don't know if you found that for yourself, but I hope you do.
Yes, I'm sure my listeners are also going to find that for themselves.
Now, what was that last question you asked me?
So the last question I'm just going to say right now is, how can our audience connect with you and learn more about your work and books, so then we can round up?
Yeah, I think I could offer people something if they connect with me on my website, www.masterfulcoaching.com. LinkedIn, Robert Hargrove on LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you so much for the information today. And it was a fast, long time spent. We just have a 1-hour show right now. And for people on YouTube and all platforms, we just want to say thank you for staying in with us. I know it's a long 1 hour, especially now that we have a lot of
very short 1 hour.
Yeah,
very short.
Yeah, very short. It feels like we've not even started. But hopefully we'll be back on the show and to talk more about, more topics. But that's all the time we have for today. I want to say thank you for tuning in to the today's episode and season 3 of the Winner Circle podcast with Jay. I want to say a huge thank you to Robert Hargrove for sharing his invaluable insight on the Masterful Coaching and its impact on leadership and personal growth.
I want to show you my Masterful Coaching Masterclass program on a Zoom call.
That's great.
I can go over it with you. But I wish you all the best.
All right, no problem.
I can see you. There's someone in your family that's shining through. I don't know if it's your mother or your father or your grandmother. Someone out there loves you. And let me
Thank
finish
you.
on saying one last thing about Masterful Coaching. Masterful Coaching is really about the power of love in business. You have to love people to do this work. Okay?
Definitely.
So, with love and respect to all, see you later.
All right. See you later, guys.
Hey, winners, as we continue our journey together today, I want to share something truly special with you. Over the years, I've had the privilege of coaching countless business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, guiding them to achieve breakthrough results and unlocking their full potential. So I'm opening up just 4 slots for my monthly business coaching program. That's right, 4 slots. After being fully booked for the past 3 years, if you're ready to elevate your business with personalized guidance, proven strategy, and a supportive community, I'm here to help you navigate challenges, refine your vision, and achieve your goals. So if you're committed to taking your business to the next level, I want to hear from you. Reach out to me directly at jay@winnercirclewithj.com and discuss how we can work together to build the future your business deserves. So don't wait. This is your moment. Join Winner Circle and let's embark on this transformative journey towards success together. And now let's dive back into today's episode.